Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Pod Strickland. I'm your host, Shwin and Prez, and this is episode 502. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Prez, that is @_Presidente on Twitter and @Presidente on Blue Sky. Prez, how are you doing on this Thursday afternoon?
I'm doing gloriously. It's nice weather here in DC, and we're going to talk about some fun stuff. And usually, off-season pods range between boring and unhinged. So I like where this is going.
That is good to hear. I'm excited. I am certainly not entertained by the Knicks off season so far, which has certainly it's gotten off to quite the bang, quite the start. So we'll talk about that. Obviously, the Knicks moving on from Tom Thibodeau as the head coach. No word yet on who the next coach will be, although there are some names being bandied about. We'll talk about that as well. Before we get started, I do have to make a few announcements. First week, that Strickland has a YouTube channel where you may be watching this podcast. If you are, and you have not done so already, please hit like, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment. That'd be a huge help to us. The Strickland also has merchandise, which you can find on our website at www.strict.land. There's a link that'll take you to the merchandise store, and there's all kinds of cool stuff on there, like t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, coffee mugs, water bottles, you name it, we got it. The Strickland also has a Patreon, which you can subscribe to. There are a number of different tiers. There's a $6 tier that gets you access to Pod Strickland's podcast that I host every Friday with Prez. You also get access to Takes from Obvious Bozos podcast, hosted by Andrew Steele, aka Doug, along with Zach Blatter, and you get access to the Strickland Discord where the conversation never stops. There are further tiers. There's a $9 tier that gets you access to Strickland Roll, my solo pod, or rant and rave about the Knicks even more. You also get access to wonderful premium articles by Matthew Murner, one of the best in the business, and you get access to Strictly NFL, which you guessed it is a podcast about the NFL that is hosted by Konstantin Metrikos and Desmond Novak. There are further tiers. There's a $15 tier, $30 tier, $50 tier, and a $100 tier that's going to a variety of additional benefits, like listening on our pod recordings, merchandise discount, and potentially hosting a podcast alongside yours truly one day, whether you choose to subscribe or not. None of this would be possible without you. So, without further ado, let's get started. The Knicks move on from Tom Thibodeau. That happened on Tuesday, and I'm not going to say it didn't come out of nowhere. I definitely don't think it came out of nowhere, but still a bit surprising, given that the Knicks made the Eastern Conference Finals, beat the Celtics on the way to getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, and despite the disappointing series result against Indiana, personally I thought that he probably had done enough to keep his job. There are fans that would have felt even if they had lost to Boston in a competitive series, that would have been enough. Certainly, I kind of went into that series thinking there's no way for them to be competitive without Thibs doing a good enough coaching job that would warrant him staying. Personally, I think that he probably needed to get to the finals to save his job based on just how everything has worked out. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But one thing I'm not going to say that I haven't heard anybody talk about it because I haven't listened to everybody talk about the Knicks firing Tom Thibodeau. But I think in everything that I have listened to, I haven't seen people discuss the fact that, like, yes, obviously he was judged on the performance of, his decisions this season, how he set the team up tactically, how he set up the rotations, the lineups, adjustments or lack thereof, et cetera, et cetera. I think, it's obvious, right? When you are assessing a coach, those are going to be inherently part of the evaluation. What I think is just a fact, and this is just what I think. Maybe some things that maybe I've heard in the ether.
How you gonna say
But
this is just the fact, and then immediately this is just what I think?
well, it's a fact that this is what I think. But
Touche.
this is not a decision that was made just based on the frustration or frustrations of this season. I think a lot of the frustration of this season is down to the type of decision making that we have seen from Tom Thibodeau over the course of 5 years. And I think that he's done unquestionably an admirable job. More than that, I think that's actually selling it short. He's done I thought he did a hell of a job in New York. But amidst all of the good work he did in New York, we know that he has made some bad decisions. And in making those bad decisions, again, can we say this for sure? Like with 100% confidence? No, nobody can unless you're in the building. But on the outside looking in, with all the information over the years that we've seen, I think it's safe to say that Tom Thibodeau marches to the beat of his own drum. And if he makes a decision, if he thinks a thing, that is going to be how it exists over the course of time. And what I mean by that is his determination in 2020, 2021 was the best way to set this team up, that team up, was Elfrid Payton starts. That is despite the fact that starting lineup sucked. And despite the fact that Elfrid Payton was not good and played poorly and didn't play good defense, despite all of the weird praise he got for being a good defender. He did not play good defense. And we knew, and Thibs knew, this was what made it insane. Thibs knew once it got to the postseason, he was going to have to cut his minutes drastically. And he started cutting his minutes towards the end of the regular season, but he never ditched the starting lineup at all during that season. And what happened is that he gets to the playoffs. Within 2 games, he realizes, wow, this is not going to work. And immediately, what does he do? He removes Elfrid Payton from the rotation entirely, benches him. Now he has to put Derrick Rose into the starting lineup. Now he has to figure out what his bench rotations are after that. Okay, fine. You want to give him a pass on that because that team clearly overachieved. He was so critical to the turnaround. They vastly outperformed expectations. I think that is more than fair. Okay, fine. Let's go to 2021-22. What happens in this season? I mean, what didn't happen in this season? Did anything smart happen this season? I don't think so. We start Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier. Obviously, we understand why that was the case. These were the marquee free agent additions of that offseason. I get it. You start them, you give it a go, you see how it rolls, and I have no problem with that. The problem is the adjustments or lack thereof were maddening. First, he benches Kemba Walker. Okay, benches him entirely, by the way. This is not like he moved him to the bench. No. He's just nailed to the bench. He's never playing. Doesn't play. Starts Alec Burks. Okay, not my ideal scenario, but okay, understandable. He starts Alec Burks. Then, because of widespread COVID issues, he has to go back to Kemba Walker starting. Kemba, to his credit, plays really well in a few games. And because he played well in a few games, guess what happens, Prez? Yeah, guess what happens? Oh, okay. Now Kemba's starting again. And we waste another fucking 10 games doing this bullshit. Then he goes back and finishes the entire season starting Alec Burks a point, despite the fact that it was blindingly obvious that the one guy on the team who had any case to be an actual point guard, and a functional one at that, was Emmanuel Quickley, who was really good that year, closed the year really strong, but he started 2 games, I believe, at point guard at the end of the season, and that was it. So we learned absolutely nothing.
We learned nothing about future $135 million point guard Emmanuel Quickley.
Okay, 2021-22, that happens. Fine. 22-23. Okay, we get Jalen Brunson. We sign Isaiah Hartenstein. Thibs has this garbage starting lineup with Evan Fournier, and he's playing Cam Reddish and all this weird stuff through the first 23 games. And then guess what? We get all these reports of like, oh, Thibs is on the hot seat. If they lose to Cleveland on Sunday, that might be it for him. But then we also get some reports of, oh, no, Leon Rose fully trusts Tom Thibodeau. He's fully behind Tom Thibodeau, his handpicked coach, his longtime client. No way is this man getting fired. And then, lo and behold, that Sunday comes around, and Tom Thibodeau assembles arguably the best possible rotation that he could have cobbled together from the pieces at his disposal. We see Quentin Grimes put into the starting lineup. We have no more No more, septuagenarian players. Derrick Rose nailed to the bench. Evan Fournier, thank you for your service. Cam Reddish, go to hell. Like, gets rid of all the garbage in the lineup and plays all these young guys. That Prez, to my knowledge, I think for fucking 8 months we had been like, I think the team would be better if you just played these young guys. I don't know. I think that would be better. He does it. He does it. The season turns around because he trusts the young players in the team that the front office had selected with their draft choices, and boom, the Knicks take off. They, what do they finish? They were 10-13. They finished 37 and 22, right? They get Josh Hart in a trade. Josh Hart comes in. He immediately slots in off the bench, and it's perfect. I mean, this is you could not have asked more from a rotation perspective. I'm not going to get into the weird decision making in the Miami series. I think it was actually a fireable offense, but let's move on. Thibs, good rotation. Good job. 23-24. Okay. This is the year, right? Okay. Well, we signed Dante DiVincenzo. But what happens through the start of the season? He just keeps playing RJ Barrett way too many minutes, even though he's fucking killing the team when he's on the floor. And basically every other lineup is good, but he does it. And then finally they trade for OG Anunoby. And this, honestly, missed opportunity for the Knicks because of injuries. That team was probably the perfectly constructed Thibs roster that they ever could have assembled. And I will believe forever that they had a chance to win a championship last year. Because of injuries, they really never had an opportunity. You got to roll with the punches and go with it. This year, again, we have a bunch of weird stuff coming in, and it's not about Thibs, right? You have a lot of moving pieces. Karl Anthony Towns, in comes Mikal Bridges, right? Like these are a lot of big changes. You don't have Mitchell Robinson healthy to start the year, right? All this stuff is there, and Thibs does, he picks a starting lineup, and he picks his couple of guys off the bench that he likes, and he just rolls with that. And yet this season, there was nothing. There was no experimentation. There was no lineup changes. There was no opportunities for players that were drafted, in part, in players like Tyler Kolek and Ariel Hukporti, in part because they were older rookies and they were players that theoretically could potentially come in and help you, at least in the regular season, right off the bat. And let me tell you something. When they got opportunities, they did exactly that. I'm not saying Tyler Kolek and Ariel Hukporti were world beaters. They weren't. But they were solid rookies. They looked okay rookies, like guys that could eat minutes and help you win some regular season basketball games when they got opportunities. But they got very few opportunities, inexplicably, I would say. Despite the fact that we kept, there was this endless lament of how thin the bench was. There's not enough quality on the bench. And I think for me, the front office, you look at all this stuff in totality, and it's like, we have constantly reshaped this roster. Okay? We've constantly upgraded the talent on this roster. You have 2 all-NBA players. You have a top 10 offensive engine, top 10 offensive player, maybe a top 5 offensive engine in Jalen Brunson. You have the 3-and-D wings that we know with some level of confidence Tom Thibodeau has wanted forever on this team, right? You could tell OG Anunoby is a guy that not only did the front office want, Thibs, obviously a huge fan of OG Anunoby, and rightfully so. Mikal Bridges is exactly the type of wing that Tom Thibodeau probably has been wanting and clamoring for behind the scenes forever. Because we need more size, we need more wing depth. He got him. You gave him a stretch 5, a guy who can play, who gives you the opportunity to play 5 out. You also gave him and maintained on the roster a big man like Mitchell Robinson who can play next to Karl Anthony Towns. You gave him a player like Deuce McBride who we know this. This is like a fact. This is a proven fact. He is fucking awesome when he plays with Jalen Brunson. Those two together are awesome when they play together. So you have the opportunity to go 5 out, put in another point of attack defender, and really, really be able to spread the floor here. You have a guy like Josh Hart who can just contribute in every which way possible, other than probably shooting the ball consistently, obviously. But you have the opportunity here with this roster when it was full health. At full health, you have the ability to play big. You have the ability to go 5 out. You have guys off the bench that can contribute. You can be versatile, and there was no versatility. There was none. There was none. I mean, we sat here all year, and yeah, I get it, man. I get it. It is hard to have a defense that maintains integrity when two of the pieces in Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns can be such weak defenders at times. I fully understand that, and I sympathize with that. But what was done to mitigate those things? Not anything in the regular season. Nothing. Did they play zone ever? I mean, I was listening to the KFS pod with Benji and DJ today, and they brought this up and Benji brought this up, and I agree with this. He's like, "Why did you never play zone?" I don't know. Why would you never play zone? That's one way to get around the fact that, or at least throw a curveball, so you're just giving the opposition something else to think about, and potentially be able to hide those guys a little bit better. But that never happened. You never saw stuff like having OG Anunoby defend the 5, right? You never saw stuff like that. There was no versatility. There was no creativity to his approach on either end of the floor until we got to the playoffs, and then he starts trying to take stuff out of his bag. And he deserves a ton of credit for going to that switch everything scheme when they played Boston. Do you know what the problem is? Here's the problem. I'll tell you exactly what it is. That was great against Boston. It was great. But Prez, what did we talk about before the Indiana series? I was like, I don't think you can switch everything against Indiana because they run way more offense. They run through sets and they pass the ball way better than Boston. And you don't have this all comfortable and schemed up. Like, it's a lot easier to switch everything against a team like Boston that gets stagnant. It's a lot harder to just switch everything constantly against a team like Indiana that is moving and gets through 3 or 4 actions on every possession if they need to. Like, it's a totally different ballgame. And that got exposed in that series. They got exposed that they did not have all the specifics drilled down.
And two things on that. Like, on the Celtics, I tweeted this. It's in a thing I'm writing too, but like, them switching for the first time and it working is not it is incontrovertibly a good thing that Thibs finally decided to use the right scheme.
But it's an indictment of him also.
It's incontrovertibly insane that the players actually did it well. And it's a testament to how it's as gutsy and rise to the occasion. Nobody will talk about it because it's not offense. And it's not like the Knicks defense was, they're not OKC out here. Nobody's going to be like, remember the 2025 Knicks defense or anything like that, right? Like, this isn't the most defensively talented units of all time. But like, for players to have never practiced that and then to do that against the defending champions is actually exceptional. And there's a little bit of like Boston is stupid in there for not like making it harder, but at the same time, like, they probably didn't expect the Knicks to do that competently, much less proficiently. So like, you can't that is not a grade in Tibbs' favor necessarily. Like, it's good that he switched it, but like, by like 99 times out of 100, that does not work. And the fact that it did work is a testament. That's a credit to the players, not to the coach. They bailed the coach out by pulling a miracle out of their asses.
Right. It is a credit to Thibs that he made the right choice, but it's not a credit to him that he like needed. What's the point of waiting until this series to pull this out? I think the idea that he was hiding it, I don't know. I doesn't really make sense to me. I think you want to work on
all the evidence cuts against him playing 4D chess. That's not how he rolls.
and so like, again, so this season you see all of a lot of the worst parts of Thibs, and less of the good things, I think, in a lot of ways. And then you get to the Indiana series, and yeah, you go down 0-2. Now he's got to make some adjustment. What's he going to do? So he starts Mitch. Is that the lineup I would have chosen to go with? Is that the lineup adjustment I would have chosen to go with? No, but I don't mind it. Like, it's fine. Like, that's
It's an
you had,
adjustment.
yeah, you had to do something, so you did that. Here's the problem again, because so this comes full circle, comes right back to that first playoff series against the Hawks in 2020, 2021. When he had to make a lineup change, he now has to reconfigure his rotations. But because he doesn't know everything this roster is capable of, because he tried absolutely nothing in the regular season, his decision making is so random almost. Like, it was not consistent. There was no method to the madness. It was just kind of like throwing darts at the board. And then you get like weird stuff where it's like, okay, so he's not starting, like he's starting Mitch now. So Hart's off the bench, but Hart's still going to play like 34, 35 minutes. But like now somehow for some reason Deuce plays less. And then now it's like, okay, Landry Shaman and Delon Wright are now going to be in the rotation again. And this just feels to me, and this is a total fucking, I'm just conspiracy theorying, spitballing here. My thinking is everything he did after game 2, all of that stuff, as far as starting Mitch, moving Hart to the bench, Deuce McBride obviously still in the rotation, but he puts Landry Shaman and Delon Wright back in instead of, gets rid of campaign minutes. I think those are all suggestions that he had been hearing from the front office for a while. Maybe not all of them all at the same time, but I think all of those things were suggestions that were being made to him over the course of the season from the front office. I 100% believe the front office thinks Landry Shamet should have been playing more over the course of the season, because why the fuck not? It's the regular season. Just put Landry Shamet out there. He's a fine regular season player, if nothing else. Delon Wright is a player that they traded for at the trade deadline. And we talked about it at the time where we were like, it's not like a big move, but Delon Wright, like, he's a pretty good defender. They need more. They need better perimeter defense. He might be a guy that could give you something. And when he did play in the regular season, right? When he did play, he was okay. He was pretty okay. You were fine with his minutes. But as soon as, Brunson came back, he goes back to the bench. And it's like this type of stuff was constant throughout its time. So I think it's a mistake to just look at this season and be like, well, how could you fire him after just this season, given that they made the East Conference Finals? And it's like, yeah, and people will be like, I understand the things that are bad about him, but that's the point. It's not just about the season. It's a pattern. It's a pattern with him. And after 5 years with this guy, they are just like, I think they're like, and then you obviously have players that are unhappy. So now you don't even have like the argument of like, oh, well, Tom Thibodeau gets buy-in. You can't make that argument in his favor and then blame players for being upset when he loses them. That's not how it works. If he lost them, that's on him too. And I want to be clear here. I'm not going to say like absolve the players. Like, no shot. Like, obviously guys got to own it too. Mikal Bridges got to be way better. Karl-Anthony Towns got to be more locked in. Blah, blah, blah. We can go down the list, right? The point is, I'm not absolving the players. But if you don't get that buy-in anymore, it can't just be a feather in your cap when the team is with you and fighting for you. And then when they aren't, it's this huge indictment of the players and they betrayed him and they stabbed him in the back and he's a scapegoat. That's bullshit. That's nonsense. You can't have it both ways. Okay. He lost the team. That's just it. And you know what? He's not the first coach in NBA history to be in a place for so long that at a certain point, the message just gets stale. And it is what it is. It is not a crime. It's just how it works, man.
It's actually pretty common.
Yeah, it's the fucking nature of the league. So I don't think this needs to be this. It's, to me, this is not some huge controversial, like, insane thing. I think this is an accumulation of 5 years worth of working together with somebody and just coming to the understanding and realization maybe that for all of the good work this man does, and he does some really fucking good work that should not go unheralded. And I will never, I will, as critical as I've been of Thibs, I've always maintained that I think he's a really good head coach. But at a certain point, really good is not enough if your goal is to win a championship. And the only evaluation that you had to make of Tom Thibodeau at this point, given the fact that you've poured resources into this team, given the fact that the core that you have, these are guys that you're going to have probably like a 3-year window here, but these guys are all in their prime. The only evaluation you have to make is, does this man, do the decisions he makes, does the way he operates over the course of a regular season, does that give us the best chance to win a championship in at some point in time with this group of players? And I don't think either of us is the first person to have a fucking reservation about Tom Thibodeau's chops to do so. And that doesn't mean that now that Thibs is gone, inevitably the Knicks will win a championship. No, it's on them to find a coach and land on a coach who, not just that they believe has that ability, but actually does have that ability. Like, that's the hardest part. So that's up to them. But do I think it's the idea that it might have been a mistake to fire Tom Thibodeau? I don't think so, because I think this team is geared and operating in a way that it is championship or bust. And if that is how you're operating, I do not disagree and wholeheartedly do agree with the sentiment that Tom Thibodeau was not the coach to get this team to a championship.